Hi everyone, Aaron here for Zollotech, and this week there's a lot to talk about with iOS 27 details that have leaked, iPhone Fold, iOS 26.3, and more. This is your weekly Apple News update for the week of December 15th, 2025. Now, GM has added Apple Music as far as the app goes to their cars as they begin to get rid of Apple CarPlay. So far, it's only on some 2025 Chevy and Cadillac vehicles, but GM has long said they're getting rid of CarPlay in favor of their own software. I think this is a bit of a mistake, especially for Chevy or Cadillac, as many people prefer to use Apple CarPlay or even Android Auto. So to get rid of that entirely is a bit disappointing, of course, and many people will probably just look for other vehicles. The UK now wants all iPhones or other phones to start blocking all explicit images until the user proves their age. Apple already has a feature like this built in, but it must be enabled by the user for either yourself or a child. You can find it under Settings. If we scroll down to where we have Screen Time, there's a section called Communication Safety. You'll see it says Sensitive Photos and Videos, where it can detect the photos and videos before they're sent or viewed on your child's device and provide guidance and age-appropriate resources to help them make a safe choice. So this is something you have to enable yourself. You can enable it or disable it. And again, you can enable this on your child's account as well. So Apple already has something like this, but they want it enabled by default based on the user's age. The iPhone 16, iPhone 16 Pro, and iPhone 16 Pro Max were the best-selling smartphones in the world in the third quarter of 2025, according to Counterpoint Research. iPhone 17 will likely take the lead next year as it seems to be selling extremely well, but the 16 in particular is selling incredibly well. I'm sure the 17 will take its place with all of the latest deals, but let me know if maybe you recently picked up a 16 instead. I'd love to hear from you in the comments. There was a Spotify outage this morning that was recently resolved, so if you were having issues with Spotify and you thought maybe you had an issue with your phone, it seems it just wasn't you, it was Spotify itself. Also over the past week, there were multiple outages from Apple with things such as Apple Music, Apple TV, and games. You can see on their system status page that all services are currently operating normally, but if you're ever having issues with it, I'll link it in the description. You can check here to see if it's an outage. So sometimes we'll see some of these things go unavailable or have issues, everything from iCloud to walkie-talkie on the Apple Watch, wallet, and more. One of my favorite things that sits in the background of your phone is Apple CarKey. If you have a car that supports it, it's a great feature, and it's now coming to more vehicles. If we go into Wallet, so with Apple CarKey, you just walk up to the car, it unlocks, and you're ready to go. We've seen things like this from Rivian with their own app, Tesla with their own app, and others, but being built right into iPhone is really convenient, and you just bring your phone with you, not your key. This is now being added to Rivian R1T and R1S directly within native CarKey support, and this is coming soon, and then Toyota is going to be adding it soon as well. So this is great, seeing it on more vehicles. We've seen it with Android as well, so it's just great to be able to use your phone as your key. Apple today is also pushing out notifications about App Store awards, but this time for Apple Vision Pro. You can see the notification I received before this video, 2025 App Store Awards, discover the best apps and games of this year for Apple Vision Pro. So if you went into it, what it would do is bring you into the Vision Pro app that we have here, and then it says announcing the 2025 App Store Awards. So you can see things for Apple Vision Pro App of the Year here and read more about it. So be sure to check out the Vision Pro app if you want to learn more about the latest apps that won App of the Year and all of the other runner-ups as well. For some people, it seems that the new iOS 26.2 update seemed to have turned on automatic updates by itself. If you go into Settings, go to General and Software Update, you'll see under Automatic Updates, I have it set to download only, but make sure you adjust this based on what you prefer. So if you don't want it to automatically install and you want to do it on your own, make sure that you actually disable this. However, if you want it to install along with system files, you can enable that or keep it disabled. It's up to you, whatever you prefer. Also in a support document that was published for Australia by Apple, you'll see here it says connecting to emergency services on iPhone in Australia. Specifically, it's calling out issues with the iPhone 12 where you should update to iOS 26.2 to fix an issue they were having. Basically, it says staying connected to emergency services is essential, especially in a country as expansive and geographically diverse as Australia. It says iPhone is designed with multiple layers of connectivity, and down here you'll see it says Australian mobile network operators continue to improve support for emergency calling on their networks. Basically, they're saying in order to do this, you'll want to update your phone, and you'll see here that the update was fixed for iPhone 12 users and all of the others with iOS 26.2. So they're encouraging you to update, so if you haven't already and you're already on iOS 26, make sure you do that if you're in Australia. When it comes to app updates this week, well, ChatGPT had a new update yesterday that added Apple Music support and upgrades image generation as a whole. So you can see the new ChatGPT images is here. You can learn more on their website. And again, like I mentioned, it includes Apple Music as well. Also, if you are having issues with iOS 26.2 and YouTube, make sure that you update them, as there were quite a few bugs early on once iOS 26.2 released. So there are new updates here that should resolve many of those issues. Google Maps also finally added a feature that we've had in Apple Maps for quite some time. So if you're using Google Maps, and maybe you go to the Apple store here at Birkdale Village and you park your car, Google Maps will now tell you where you've parked your car, just like Apple Maps has done for a little while. Also, WhatsApp started rolling out updates the other day. You can see here with new feature roundup, missed call messages, new status stickers, and more. So you should have these already, or they're rolling out, and you'll see it says missed call messages, reactions and voice chats, a group call speaker spotlight, Meta AI image creation improvements, and more. However, in the app update itself, there was another one 17 hours ago, at least at the time of recording this video, where it says you can now add a custom member tag to let everyone know your role in the group chat. So these features, again, are rolling out in the coming weeks, along with the ones I already mentioned. So let me know if you've got the update already as well. As far as deals this week, well, there's quite a few deals when it comes to last-minute deals for AirPods Pro 3. They're around $209, so I'll link that in the description. If maybe you want an Apple Watch Series 11, it's $100 off, and MacBook Air is about $250 off. So if you've wanted any of those last minute, I'll link those in the description so you can check them out. As far as releases this week, well, iOS 26.2 released about 5 days ago. However, we had iOS 26.3 Beta 1, so that was expected. We now have that, and it brought a feature many of us didn't expect. So under Settings, under General, if you have the beta, scroll down to the bottom, you'll see Transfer or Reset iPhone, and there's a new option called Transfer to Android. This is most likely to comply with EU regulations with interoperability between devices, and you'll see it says place your device next to each other. You can tap Continue here, scan a QR code, and then transfer directly to Android. So we'll cancel it for now, but that's one of the major features that they updated it with. Of course, we'll see more of this as we get to the next beta. And speaking of the next beta, since it's the end of the year, typically we won't see the next beta until maybe the second week of January. Apple typically takes a vacation during the holiday, so for the next couple of weeks we don't expect anything, but we do expect maybe on the 5th or 6th we'll see the next version. We could also see iOS 26.2.1, as there's been some bugs already. I had some resprings on the public release, just opening up Mail when iOS 26.3 Beta 1 came out that same day. I opened up Mail on 26.2 and the entire OS crashed, so there's definitely some issues still there. Now, when it comes to the next versions, of course, the major update is expected in March with iOS 26.4 and the new Siri 2.0 Apple Intelligence update that brings context and much more. Then we'll see, of course, iOS 27 for the first time in June at WWDC 2026, so we'll see Beta 1 there typically, and then, of course, we'll have a public release in September. So that's everything we can expect so far this year, but the next major updates, of course, will be iOS 26.3 and then 26.4 with that Siri update. And this week we heard a lot of different leaks that came out from people such as Macworld with Felipe Esposito, and reviewing an internal build of iOS that he apparently got his hands on, there were details about iOS 26.4 and iOS 27. iOS 26.4 is expected to have that big Siri change like I mentioned, and also it's expected to have health updates. So with the Health app, this is the current layout. It's expected to have an update with maybe a more simple layout and some changes overall. Apple TV may include a new sports update where we'll have a sports tier, so maybe you watch a lot of sports, you'd be able to subscribe to it maybe directly in Apple TV here, so that's something we could see. Also, device integrity check may check the device before you log into Apple ID. There's also new AirPods features expected, so if you're going to use AirPods, folders are expected in freeform, and then also you'll be able to autofill credit card information in third-party apps if you have a credit card stored in your Passwords app. So that's something that's all coming with iOS 26.4, according to Felipe Esposito. Also, there's quite a few accessibility features mentioned, such as full-size keyboard with voiceover support coming to Mac, live listen updates for Apple Watch, maybe a tilt-to-scroll update, and quite a few other things as well. However, iOS 27 is also expected to bring some updates. Early on, we heard from Mark Gurman that iOS 27 is expected to be a stability update like Snow Leopard was for the Mac years ago. I would love to see that, but we could get a few additional updates as well. One of those things is photo collections is set to get improvements. So if we go into photos, within collections, this is one of my least favorite photo updates where it's just sort of confusing. You, of course, can customize it, but I don't like how it handles the library or collection, so hopefully we get some updates there. Also, we're expected to get AirPods updates as far as pairing and fixing some issues there. And then even iOS 28 was mentioned where we could get new metrics for Apple's Watch sleep tracking. Now, that's something they recently updated with sleep. In Apple Watch, they changed some of the values. So you'll see here, this is a little bit slow for some reason, but under sleep, they changed some of the values where you can manage sleep focuses and things like that. But the values changed overall. But that's some things we could see in iOS 28. But there was a huge leak for devices as well. One of them has to do with iPhone Air. iPhone Air has not been a great success, but we don't know the actual sales numbers. However, Apple has supposedly halted production, but they're planning to hopefully revise it and sell more within the next generation. A report from The Information the other day said that Apple is planning to add a second camera to the iPhone Air. We've heard this before, but the thing we haven't heard is maybe they'll lower the price. So that would definitely make it more attractive. Of course, maybe a more dense battery, similar to what other manufacturers are doing, would be great, but we haven't heard anything about that. We did hear more about iPhone 18 Pro though. According to a Weibo account named Smart Pikachu, there's more evidence supporting that for iPhone 18, Apple is working to make Face ID hidden under the display. This would be hidden using a sliced micro-transparent glass, and a new report from The Information yesterday also said that Apple will bring Face ID under the display and move the camera to the top left. So this is what we could see with the iPhone 18 Pro if they get this right. It would completely eliminate the dynamic island. However, we don't know how they'll handle things such as live activities. Maybe they'll just have it expand out of the camera now or something else. We're also expecting an even bigger battery and also some new colors, such as maybe burgundy or a coffee color. I've mentioned this before, but I would love to see product red return as well. iPhone 18 models are said to be removing the touch sensitivity and haptic feedback as well from camera control. This would, of course, make it less expensive to implement, but also maybe take away some of the frustration with accidentally moving it or tapping the button. Most people, I think, just press it to open it, but the haptic feedback, while it's nice to actually feel it haptic feedback, one of the issues is it shakes the phone a little bit and then messes up some of the photos. So that's something I'm not crazy about that I would love to see go away, or at least have an option for it. Also, we're hearing about the 20th anniversary iPhone again. There was a new report by The Information yesterday that lines up with other reports on what to expect from the upcoming 20th anniversary iPhone. The 20th anniversary iPhone is said to have a seamless curved edge display without any openings in the display. So it would be fully glass on the front, wrapping around to the back. And they don't know if the actual display curves around the edges, but we do know that the overall design is just one curved glass design with an all-glass phone. We've heard this rumor for quite some time, so we'll have to see if they actually do this. But having an all-glass phone, of course, comes with risks of shattering, just dropping it simply, so we'll have to see what they do with that. Also, the same leak that Macworld found with iOS 27 also revealed more about the upcoming smart home device Apple's working on. It said that it would be more of like a 6-inch display on a HomePod. We've heard that before, but basically it would utilize Face ID for not only unlocking, but also profile switching. It would have a 1080p camera and also implement Apple Intelligence. This would make sense why they delayed it until the new Siri 2.0 update, so maybe we'll see that early next year. Also, a new code leak reveals that the next HomePod will not have Apple's own N1 Wi-Fi chipset. So they'll be using something else like they always have. Maybe it won't have much of an upgrade there at all, other than a home device in general. Also, Apple's working on an iPhone Fold. Many people have been excited about this, and the upcoming folding iPhone is expected to bump the overall shipments of folding phones by about 46%, according to Counterpoint Research. Where they get that specific number, I think, is just a guess, but if many people are interested in folding phones and Apple pushes out one that's successful, many people will see it bump up the category in general. IDC has also said that the iPhone Fold would be a game changer for the category. Also, a new leak by Digital Chat Station on Weibo has said that the folding phone would be more of a book-style phone, maybe like the first Pixel Fold that I have here, where it would open sort of in a more wide format or more of a book-style format, which I think is the right move if you've ever used one of these, instead of going to the more vertical format that we had with the Pixel Fold 2 or the second generation. So Samsung tends to go in this sort of format. I would love to see more of a book style format, but either way, whatever it is, will probably be very nice to use and well considered. The hinge is also said to be sort of a very strong hinge, or sort of a breakthrough where there's no crease in the display at all. So this is something I would love to see. And also we're said to have no Face ID sensor. So instead of having a Face ID, they would move to Touch ID, similar to what we have on current folding devices. I don't mind that at all, as I really like Touch ID. In fact, I probably like it more than Face ID, but I know not everyone would be happy with that. Also, a new report says the Fold will have a 5.3-inch outer display and a 7.7-inch inner display, according to the information. However, this has been mixed a little bit, where we've seen about 7.7 to 7.8, but either way, it will be well within that range, almost 8 inches as far as the total size. When it comes to the iPhone 17e, it's said to replace the iPhone 16e just a year after its debut, but this time around it's said to bring MagSafe to the device. So that's something the 16e didn't have, and hopefully we'll get it with the 17e. Also, the iPhone 17e is said to ship with the C1 modem still, but the iPhone 18 models may benefit from the updated C1X or possibly a new C2 modem. Apparently Apple's testing both, and the actual modem we are going to have ship with it is a little bit unknown at this point, but either way, there's still time for them to change this. Now, as far as iPad, the upcoming 12th generation iPad is said to be getting the A19 chipset, according to Macworld and an internal document they've seen. Also, the iPad mini, on the other hand, appears to be getting an OLED treatment, like we've seen on the iPad Pro. However, it's said to have the A20 Pro chipset in it. This is according to a leak from Mac Rumors. So that would be a big bump as far as the specs go, and make the iPad mini basically as fast as the iPad Pro, other than having the M series chip benefits. So it would be super fast in a very small and compact device, of course with OLED making it extremely nice to use, I'm sure. So we'll have to wait and see if they release that this year. When it comes to Macs this year, we expect the normal updates, with the MacBook Air getting the M5 chipset like we just got in the MacBook Pro, but we also expect upgrades such as the M5 Pro, M5 Max, and M5 Ultra in the Mac Studio. So we expect all of those, but we may finally get new displays. A new report says that the next generation Apple Studio display will release in 2026, but benefit from the A19 chipset, ProMotion, and HDR. So to have all of those included, and hopefully a Pro Display XDR as well that's 32 inches, having ProMotion would be great. It's already on the MacBook Pro, and bringing it to the displays finally would make a lot of sense. Also, a new report has me really excited for the future of Mac, as Apple is supposedly working on a new iMac Pro. Based on kernel debug kit files used by Apple engineers, it suggests that Apple is working on an M5 Max version of the iMac Pro. Now, hopefully it will have an M5 Ultra as well, but I would love to see something like a 27-inch or 32-inch iMac Pro. We haven't had that since the 24-inch model arrived, so to have a larger display, and instead of using maybe the what I consider fairly ugly Mac Studio, I would love to see an iMac Pro. Now, when it comes to Vision Pro, according to recent reports by multiple leakers, Apple has put the Vision Pro on the back burner, and Vision Pro 2 and Vision Air is no longer a priority. Recently, some more evidence came out about the existence of the rumored Black Vision Pro, though. New side straps have appeared online from Sonny Dixon and Kosutami. So basically, the side straps here with the speakers integrated, they showed a new black version. Now, we may see these in the future as a black version of the Apple Vision Pro, but for now, it looks like it's been put on hold, as Apple is working on glasses at this point. So hopefully we see more about Apple glasses in the near future, where they would sort of compete with Meta glasses so that we'd have an assistant there, but I would imagine we'll have to wait for Siri 2.0 for that. So we would have a Vision Pro style device, but without the displays, and then maybe in the future with the displays. But to get all of this into a smaller form factor into glasses may be a bit of a challenge, of course. So that's everything so far. Lots of leaks so far about iOS 27, iOS 26.4, and upcoming devices. Let me know what you're looking most forward to in the comments below, and of course I'll link this wallpaper in the description like I normally do. If you haven't subscribed already though, please subscribe, and if you enjoyed the video, please give it a like. As always, thanks for watching. This is Aaron. I'll see you next time.